Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Gabe Lullo with us today. He's CEO at Alleyoop. He helps execute 11 million revenue generating activities annually. That's a lot. And create custom content that converts. They train SDRs on how to turn their words into hot leads. He is in the US, precisely in California, Gabe. I'm
No, I'm
guessing.
in New York
New
actually.
York,
So
the
yeah,
other side of the coast, and I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. We're gonna have fun today, guys. This one's presented to you by podpire.com. If you want to start, scale, monetize a podcast, you can go to podpire.com. Gabe, glad to have you on the pods. Tell me a bit about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
yeah, Charles, big fan of yours. One of the busiest people I've seen on LinkedIn. You're all over the place, and I love it. We're doing really well. Where company is exploding right now. We've had our biggest quarter we've ever had in 15 years, and we're excited and humbled by it. But we're having a lot of fun, and we're serving some amazing clients and doing some things a little bit differently. And so that's a little bit about us.
So, what was your first business, and why did you get started in your own self-created ventures?
Yeah, so right out of school, I started working in sales here and there, but I found my niche in recruitment and recruiting. So worked in executive level staffing, which then turned into a training company, and we focused mostly on CROs and VPs of sales and heads of marketing, and we trained sales professionals and recruited sales professionals all the way up from AEs to CROs and high level executives. And after about a decade of doing that, I found this company. We were called Inside Sales Team back then, which is now Alleyoop. And we specialize in the SDR function. So really the front of the lines and the first impressions, if you will, for sales. And that's where we moved into, and that's what we do now.
So are SDRs still a thing, or are these people gonna be replaced by AI soon?
Yes, they're still a thing. They are a different beast, though, right? So it's still an SDR, and there's still a significant amount of value in the human connection. But there are a massive amount of AI technologies that are co-piloting and enhancing the SDRs day-to-day operations. So we don't hire new SDRs anymore, meaning we don't hire someone who's never done the role. There's a lot of people who are familiar with how to cold call, and then there's a lot of people who are just relying on email. We do both, so we've been able to create a hybrid SDR that is specializes on the phone and has human authentic conversations, but also knows how to use technologies, including AI, to help augment their outreach.
So how do you recruit these top SDRs? What kind of skills will these folks have, and are they still young peoples in their 20s?
Yes and no. I mean, our best SDR is a grandfather. Our best SDR has more gray hair than me. And I will tell you that the young folks, the young people coming into our company are typically ones who have actually cut their teeth in more customer service or email only type of roles, and then they come into our space they have more business acumen, they have objection handling training, they have an understanding and grasp of technology and vendors and data companies already. If you look at just typing in the word SDR into LinkedIn, there's about 850,000 profiles of people who are currently or actively working as an SDR. So there's a lot of people out there that we like to source people who've already done the role, because our clients expect the best SDRs in the world when they come to us. And so we find people who have done the role successfully versus hiring people out of college and training them, how to do it for the first time.
And how much should people pay for an SDR that's gonna make 250 calls a day?
Well, we have different programs. We have fractional programs that allow our clients to actually have an SDR working 20 hours a week. We have teams that are working full time, dedicated to that client. Our pricing ranges anywhere in the low end at $4,500 a month for a fractional campaign, all the way up to $40, $50, $60,000 a month, depending on the largeness of the team that we're building. So we're looking at headcount, we're looking at enablement, we're looking at data, we're looking at RevOps. So it's not just a staffing firm where we're saying, hey, you have an SDR and that's it. We spend a lot more time, energy, and money actually in the enablement of the SDR just as much as finding the best SDR.
How do you split your responsibilities as a CEO vs your founder at Alleyoop? Like, what do you both do, and how are the roles separated?
Well, it's interesting. I'm creating a lot of content. I'm doing 2 podcasts a week. I'm working with our operators who are also content creators. We have 8 people that are running the company, in addition to many more than that, but are also creating content with us. So I work with them a lot to get our message out, to get our conversation out, and to showcase to the world who we are. And so I spend a lot of time creating content. The other side of my day is operations, making sure that we're serving our clients the best we possibly can, making sure that everyone is operating the right method to drive leads to our clients every single day. And a lot of partnerships, I spend a lot of time with that as well in regards to vendor partnerships, referral partnerships, different types of collaboration with other companies and vendors.
Very cool. Tell me about your content strategy. How do you get so many engagements? And yeah, what's the strategy? Is it like, oh, something went on your mind today, and then you funnel that to your classic content creation process? Tell us a bit more about that process.
So yeah, everything we do is 2 weeks out by design. I look at it and my COO is a creator. Our head of recruitment is a creator. Our sales team, our growth directors, we call them essentially our AEs, are creators. We also have partnerships as well as sales management. So we've picked people across all the different divisions of our company. We don't do technology, we don't do finance because they are more shy than the other ones I just mentioned. But those are the things that we look at when it comes to topics, and we only do 2 weeks out of content. And the reason why is we want this to be really a authentic reflection of what's actually happening on the day-to-day of the operation. So we're always talking about relevant things, real world examples, things that are coming up. And we look at it as a way to, oh, that's really good. That client, needs us to do that. We heard this 2 or 3 times. Let's write some stuff about that and talk about that in 2 weeks. So we're always creating content almost as a diary or a journal, if you will, of what you would talk about at the kitchen table when you get home from work with your family. We're just turning that into content and putting it on the internet.
What's your thesis on podcasts? Why not start your own, for example?
Yeah, so I looked at it as it takes a lot of time and energy to do podcasts, as you know, right? And not saying that it's not worth it, but if you're starting off to get into content for the first time, I find it to be being a guest is a great way to start. We actually are in the process of launching our first podcast. My first episode of my own podcast will be launched next week, but it took us 2 years to get to that. And so we worked with a podcast agency, frankly, to get us on podcasts that were relevant to our ICP and our audience, obviously sales podcasts, go-to-market podcasts. And so I've been guest spotting over the last 2 years because to your point, I do have to run a company, so I just don't have a ton of time. But it is valuable to spend the time on podcasts for sure. So we're doing about 2 to 3 podcasts a month as a guest. And now it's given us the understanding of what we need to do to create our own.
Tell me about how you and Steve met. And if I'm a founder seeking to hire a high performance CEO like yourself, what should be the process? Like, why did Steve thought that you would be the perfect CEO for that job?
It's an interesting story because I actually left Alleyoop. And so Steve initially hired me to come in and help with recruitment and with training and with hiring based on my previous background, as we discussed. And we hit it off right away. He introduced me to his brother, who's also part of the founding team. He introduced me to his sales management team, and it was just a great conversation. And right away, I resonated with him and what he stands for. And so it was a great synergy, and that was a decade ago. So I worked with him alongside Steve in building the team and hiring and training all of our reps. We've had over 2,000 SDRs join our team over the last decade, and most of all of them came through me in regards to the recruitment side of it. And then I did leave. I wanted to broaden my horizon and grow. And so I actually decided to go and work for two SaaS companies and run two SaaS businesses, and learned a lot about finance and the operational side, managing developers, building product. And it was great. But Steve asked me to come back because he was looking to take a step back and go into semi-retirement mode and launch some new companies, and asked me to come back and take over the business. And it was a great conversation. And it's been a great ride taking over as CEO the last couple of years.
Right. And tell me how you compete with huge companies like Science, for example.
Yeah, for sure. So with big companies, there's a lot of great competitors in this space. There's about 2,000 lead gen agencies out there. I will say majority of them are just doing email or email only type campaigns. Where we set ourselves apart is phone is still very much a part of our outreach. It's actually our number one channel. Not to mention all the others, but we do a multi-channel campaign. Companies like Memory Blue is out there, Jump Crew is out there, Science is out there, just to name a few. Right now, we're in that top 5 alongside them. I'd say the biggest differentiator is, our reps are remote, so we're not in office like many of our competitors, but we're also not offshoring this. We target our reps based on where they're prospecting into. So if we're prospecting into Latin America, we like to find teams that are there. If we're prospecting into the US, we like to find teams that are there, or into the UK, so on and so forth. So we have a better price point because of our business model is remote, but we also are not, just sending emails all day long and using only email automation and being a fraction of what we charge.
So what's a good cold call like nowadays? I ran a call center with 200 employees about 5 years ago. What kind of intro works? Tell me a bit more about the script side of these cold calls.
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of the permission-based opener, but not to the point where it's the cookie cutter one that everyone is using. Hey, can I have 30 seconds of your time, right? Nothing against it. It still works for many. I always like to say, when you look at scripts, you look at it like a movie actor, right? You got Brad Pitt, you got Al Pacino, you got Bob De Niro, Robert De Niro. And the reality is they're reading other people's words, right? They see a script of a movie well before they're even starting in the movie, right? And so that is the reality. It's not their words, but they make millions of dollars and they're hyper successful because they turn those words into a phenomenal performance. And so when we're training our reps, we say, hey, listen, this is a script, this is a guideline, but you're going to be able to turn these words into your performance. And that's why you're going to be successful, not because you're just sounding like everyone else reading a script. So we're very bullish when it comes to our reps having the autonomy and the independency of turning that performance into their own. And we try to use every person's uniqueness to their advantage. So I like doing permission-based openers. If it was me making a cold call, I would just be very direct. Again, I'm from New York, so I don't do much fluff. I say, Charles, this is Gabe. We've never met before, but it was asked of me to reach out to you to set some time for you to meet with my executive team. Do you have a moment to tell you exactly what it is we do to see if it makes sense to continue this dialogue? That would be my opener pretty much all the time, no matter what I'm talking about, to just cut through the noise, be direct, be confident, ask if it's okay, and letting them know, hey, I'm calling you to set up some time, but I want you to hear what it is I'm doing first to see if it even makes sense to continue, and then going into the pitch.
Yeah, because can I have 30 seconds of your time? Like my answer would be no. Like that's way too much as a busy CEO.
Here's the reality. I always say if the best salespeople don't sound like salespeople, right? If the best salespeople out there are ones who do not sound like all the other salespeople. You got to be different. You got to be yourself. You got to be authentic, and you got to test it. There's a lot of different ways to call a lot of different personas, and every persona is different. So I always say, we want to A/B test everything, and if it resonates, double down.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. What about AI cold callers? I wouldn't see why an AI could it do cold call even better than a human. Have you A/B tested some of these Google duplex type of AI calling tools?
We have, and we're actually working with a lot of AI companies right now in our laboratory to test out, different tools. They're using our calls, our talk tracks, our data to create technology that allows this role to advance even further. I will say in the U.S., it's illegal right now. There's other parts of the world that is not. There's a lot of rules and regulations. It's very evolved at this moment, but I do say that the empathy, the nuance, the pivoting, the storytelling, the human approach in a cold call is really not yet being able to be replaced with AI. But there is a lot of cool technology out there that allows for, like as I said before, that co-piloting and augmenting of the conversation for sure.
Where do you want to take the company this year? Let's say that you're at 5-10 million ARR. Like, what would it take to double that?
Yeah, so we're actually in between that number, but I will say that we're looking to get to the bigger sizes. It's not just about sacrificing quality to get growth. Bigger is not always better, but bigger is bigger, and that is a good thing sometimes too. So we are looking to scale. We are looking to grow. We have already, more than doubled our business over the last 6 months, which has been epic for a company of our length in time, and we're looking to double again between now and July.
And how will that happen? Like, what are the main growth mechanisms? Do you do cold call campaigns for yourself, or what's your number one growth hack to get there?
Yeah, so we do drink our own Kool-Aid. We have what we call our home team, and our home team is the one that are actually on the Alleyoop campaign itself. We treat our Alleyoop client ourselves as a client, and we also test everything that we're doing on the home team. Meaning, if we're using new data vendors, or using new dialers, or using new technology, we're testing that with our own reps before we roll it out to our clients to make sure that it resonates and works. But that is one of the big reasons that we're growing, is our home team is excelling in big ways. We booked 104 demos last month just for ourselves, but I will say partnerships has been significant. We launched our partnership program early this year. We have over 200 fractional CROs and CMOs a part of it, and we are providing them some amazing value to, execute the go-to-market strategy that they're building for their clients. So a lot of fractional CROs are coming in and saying, okay, Mr. Client, here's what I do for you. And we have partnered with Alleyoop, and our teams are actually doing the execution of their go-to-market strategy. So that's been a significant lift.
Where do you get your data for the calls?
We have multiple data partners. So we work with companies like Sales Intel. We work with companies like ZoomInfo. We work with companies like Apollo. We have 5x5. We've been testing data and always will be continually testing data. There isn't one silver bullet. It all really depends on the region, the market, the ICP. Not all data providers are one and the same, and we figured that out. So depending on who we're targeting and when and what area we're targeting in, we'll pull data from different sources for that.
Interesting. Do you have someone solely managing data and lists at this point? Did you hire someone for that?
We have a 5-person team that manages all of our lists. So it's a much bigger team than one. And yeah, they're doing all day long is RevOps, and they're driving refreshed leads, pulling new leads. The data partners, some of them that I just mentioned, actually have research on demand teams that work solely for our campaigns. So we have some great data partners that allow us to give our client ICP to them, and they start doing research on demand for our clients.
And who's your ICP generally? Like, who's your best type of ideal customer persona?
Well, CROs and CMOs, or even VPs of sales and VPs of marketing, would be the ones that we're reaching out to discuss our SDR campaigns and services for those companies. Unless they're smaller businesses, then we would look directly with the CRO and do founder-led campaigns.
And any niche vertical?
No, it's interesting. I mean, I always say our sweet spot is we have no sweet spot. We have active campaigns right now with Peloton, which, No one would think that. If we were also running a campaign for companies like, we were ZoomInfo's SDR firm for many, many, many years since they started. Now they do it all in-house. But I will say, staffing firms, tech, SaaS, data, engineering, there really is no limit to the type of vertical that we can build a campaign around, as long as there's an appointment or an SDR function that makes sense in their sales journey. Product-led growth really is not something we go after for obvious reasons. But it's not only outbound either. We also manage inbound. So there's a lot of companies that have an influx of inbound leads, but no one to manage them. And they don't want their AEs tied up with that. So we build SDR campaigns to manage those inbound.
What's your philosophy on multi-touch? Do you usually start with a call, or is it LinkedIn outreach first, or is it email first? How do you go when it comes to multi-touch?
Yeah, I'm a little bit different than most, and the reason why is because phone is a part of our touch cadence. So we actually like starting a conversation first with the phone. We see open rates higher, we see click rates higher, we see more engagement on all the other channels, and so we like to at least start a conversation with the phone, get their permission, and then send them content if it's not a meeting on the spot. I will say secondarily, it is email, not I'm sorry, email. It is LinkedIn. Is what we're noticing is a big second right now, and we're seeing a huge LinkedIn boom, especially with all the content creation that's being done through LinkedIn. And then email is now third in our world. We also love that human piece that we also call a channel. Most people don't think about it, but the video creation, the voice note creation, those are things that humans only really can do. And we've been able to use that in our outreach as well. We really like it.
What does your day-to-day look like as a busy CEO?
I'm stacked from 8 to 5, man. So I keep my schedule extremely busy. And, we do a daily sync with my executive and management and director team in the morning to make sure we're always communicating. We're hyper responsive to our clients. And the reason why we are is because we're communicating effectively internally. And I think that's our biggest sweet spot, is our communication flow is really second to none. So that's where we start every day with. And then depending on where the calendar takes me, like I said, about 30% of my week is content creation. The other 30-40% is operational. And then the other piece is really diving into partnerships and vendor agreements and dealing with different types of tools that we're testing.
As a CEO that spends 30% of its time on content, are you the number one account exec in the company in revenue that you brought in / clients?
From inbound, yes. So if you look at the inbound conversations that are coming in from LinkedIn or from anything that's content related, is usually because of a podcast or something that we create online. But it's not the Gabe show. We have a lot of content creators that, as I mentioned before, is creating content as well that we're enabling, and they're driving a lot of it as well.
Is that how I should recruit a CEO for my company? Like pay them 200K a year and hope that they bring 250K just through content, and then plus they can run the company?
Well, I think depending on what you're selling, right? Like, I know a lot of great CEOs who are actually the product guys that develop the software, and they are the smartest people in the room because they're the ones who actually be able to create the product. Our product is lead generation and SDR services and and creating a voice. So I need to be out there doing exactly that. And so I think the best way for me to be a CEO for a lead gen firm is to create leads. But if we weren't a lead gen firm, maybe, me being doing content is not the best idea.
What's your career trajectory in the next 10 years? Do you want to keep on having these CEO roles, or do you want to start your own firm?
No, I mean, I really love the brand. I love, what we do. I love our company and our ecosystem and our culture. We have something called Alleyoop alumni, which essentially is the people who've worked here that have moved on. As you mentioned, SDRs usually it's an entry level type of position. So we've seen people come in almost every division of our company that's not SDR related: recruitment, HR, marketing, RevOps. They were SDRs actually here before they were in those departments. So the SDR role is a great lily pad or springboard, if you will, to other opportunities. And I really get a kick out of seeing people who worked here and now are the head of sales development at ZoomInfo, or the head of named accounts at Gong, or the head of sales development at SAP. Like those are all, by the way, real people that started their jobs here and are now leading huge, sales development teams or marketing teams or go-to-market strategies at huge companies. So it's been very helpful. It's been exciting to watch that happen.
I was like, oh, okay, that's the business Achilles heel that the people are leaving. But then I was like, okay, these people leave, have new position at ZoomInfo, and get you a foot in the door.
It's funny. We have 4 clients right now that have just come to us recently, all from former SDRs that work here that are VPs of sales at other companies. So if you stick around long enough and you have gray hair like me, it takes time and patience for those long. That's the long sales cycle, right? But yeah, we have had literally over the last month and a half, we've had 4 deals come through. All originally generated from someone reaching out to me who used to work here and are now leading sales teams and asking for our help.
That's a business model right there. I love it. Where can people find out more about you, Gabe?
Well, LinkedIn, as you would probably assume after this call, right? So LinkedIn is heavy for us. That's where we live, and I respond to literally every direct message. So if you have any questions or just want to hang out or talk shop, I'm around.